You're watching SoundTree TV.
And good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 7th in our series of weekly webcasts on KORG SoundTree TV. My name is Walt Straighton, my honor and privilege to serve as Director of Education for KORG USA, and we are very, very excited that you could join us for this evening's special event. I'm honored to be joined shortly by several of my SoundTree colleagues who you'll be meeting: Ken Green, Stefan DeSalvo, and our resident audio technology expert, Mr. Chris Sanders, who will be joining us over the course of the night. We welcome those of you who are new to our community of over 35,000 music educators from around the nation, and as well as members of the KORG dealer family, and hope that you'll consider regularly joining us moving forward as we explore topics related to music education technology. We gather regularly on Wednesday afternoons from 4 to 4:45 Eastern Time, but if you're unable to join us live, certainly you can always catch us on our YouTube and Facebook channels. Our team member, Ken Green, will be sharing that information with you later in this broadcast. This is a very special event for us, and first and foremost, we want to thank our revered colleague, Tom Cusimano, Senior Director of KORG Artist Relations, for helping to connect us with this evening's special guest. And to get this evening started, with all of the teachers out here, I'm going to draw on the teacher in me and pose a question. What do Sabrina Carpenter, Lady Gaga, Cyndi Lauper, Katy Perry, Kesha, Gwen Stefani, Paula Abdul, Demi Lovato, and Lionel Richie all have in common? They have all given performances under the expert music direction of this evening's very special guest. Currently in his ninth season as music director of American Idol, we are beyond delighted to introduce our special KORG artist, Mr. Kris Pooley. Chris, welcome to the show. You're out there in LA, you chilling in the sunshine. It's starting to get cold up here in the Northeast, bro.
No, it's raining right now. It's raining today.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for joining us tonight. And boy, we just want to get this as a conversation. Again, we're grateful to have you with us. Just to get people thinking or to learn more about you as we explore the evening. We know that you grew up in Detroit, and through our previous conversations, we know that Motown had a very heavy influence on you, and that kind of helped shape as things move forward for you. But I wondered just if you would take a few minutes and just share your journey that, from growing up in Detroit and you went to Wayne State, et cetera. Just, share with our guests, how you got to where you are.
Yeah. Right? I mean, I grew up, Detroit is such a rich music city. You still, if you go into a restaurant, you go to an Italian restaurant, there's the band playing in the corner, there's live music. And I don't see that in a lot of cities in the world. And so I grew up, my mom's a singer, dad's a sax player, stepdad, guitar player. My mom and stepdad had a band, still have a band that does casuals. And I grew up, in lounges with them, and they were, growing up, it was 6-7 nights a week, on a stage, sleeping somewhere. and then, just around music all the time. And they didn't really have any desire for me to go into music initially, but I loved it, and that turns out it's about the only thing I do well. So I was raised great teachers, great educators. I went to public school. I got really into classical music when I was young, studied classical piano, but then started to be interested in more experimental jazz music in high school, as one does. And my parents' music was pop and rock. And so largely growing up, I just kind of that was kind of their thing. And my thing was about being serious. Turns out they were right, which I learned later in life. But I grew up, high school marching band. I loved it. Had a competitive program. I started teaching marching bands then while I was still in high school. Marched, that was drumline stuff. So competitive indoor schools, started teaching in Michigan. I marched drum corps, I marched Crossmen right out of high school. And and then was an educator basically in Michigan, and was going to Wayne State studying 20th century music there, mostly because I started in the jazz program, jazz piano player, and at some point my very very merciful teacher, Matt Michaels, pulled me aside, was like, hey, you're a great arranger. You're no jazz piano player. Like there's thankfully he said that, because I was pursuing that and I was trying to, you're like in the practice room and just shedding and shedding and shedding. I loved it, but I was never really going to get there. And I think he did me a real mercy by being honest with me that, saying, hey, you're a great arranger. Let's focus on arranging. So that's the whole background to then what set me up once I moved to California. And what I do now is, primarily leading ensembles like I did when I was teaching high schools and competitive programs, and then arranging.
Wow. Yeah, very cool. You had more than your share of Hanon and all the great classical studies and everything like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, and I loved it. I think just from a straight facility point of view, there's a certain thing that classical pianists and jazz pianists, that there's a certain aptitude. And I think it's, as a musician, you have to be honest with yourself about, like, is this what I'm really good at? Is this where my head's at? Is this what I love? Is this what I spend my time doing? But yeah, that's what I grew up exploring, those things.
So what was the bridge from when you were moving off from hardcore jazz, and then, can you talk about the bridge that you were coming off the jazzing and moving into the writing and moving into the pop realm? Because based on what you said, it sounds like there was a conscious transition, or did it just kind of emerge?
Yeah, I mean, pop, what I do now and working in pop music was never really like, it wasn't like you go, oh man, I really want to study pop arranging. I mean, and I still don't. That's not, although I work primarily in pop music, I think it serves me well to not, it's not what I listen to. And I keep up on it. But at some point in college, when I was studying music, I got really turned on to 20th century composers, and I really love film scoring, and so my head went more there. There was a great composer in residence, Michael Daugherty, 20th century composer, and I've never really had contact with him, but I just fell in love with his very strange compositions. He was in Ann Arbor, I was in Detroit, but part of the faculty with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra, they had great composers, and we got to just write strange music and orchestrate it and then have it read down by great musicians. I fell in love with that process. So that was kind of what got my head thinking, well, maybe film scoring. So when I moved to LA, it was like, all right, film scoring, here I come. And then that's a real tough nut to crack, to just move to LA and score films, especially at that time, pre-Netflix, so much content being created in streaming platforms.
Wow. Very cool. All righty. Hey, I'd like, if we can right now, I want to bring in a couple of my colleagues. Ken Green is one of our great facilitators and works a lot with schools in the southern half of the country. And Ken's a great bass player in his own right as well. And come on, man, we're going to give you credit.
Okay, thanks.
Anyhow, Ken, you have something for Kris? You want to ask him?
Yeah, Kris, thank you for being with us, man. It's great to speak with you. I watched a video that you were in with a couple other musical directors. It was Adam Blackstone, David Cook. It was hosted by our KORG's own Tom Cusimano. And it was really terrific, because anyone who watched it or will watch it will learn an awful lot about the goings on, the behind the scenes of an MD. But you mentioned your audition, a particular audition that, if I'm not mistaken, was that you're into the career you currently have.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could share that story, and then maybe offer some advice to students who are either going into college or in college, coming out, interested in a career in entertainment, and how that. You mentioned learning the skill set. That was the phrase that jumped out. So
yeah. Well, I mean, to kind of back up, my parents' casual band, they run tracks in their band, and that at that time was MIDI tracks run off Performer, which turned later into digital Performer. So I grew up programming tracks for them. So making, if they needed a Motown song or something, they're like, hey kid, can you take a crack at this? And so I learned how to make tracks, essentially, and programming from MIDI drums, so at that time it was all MIDI, and it was all firing off of like D70s and and SC55s. I mean, it was all MIDI.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so jump to when I moved to LA. This is a little fast forwardy, but met some people, auditioned for this guy, rest in peace, Barry Squire, who used to put bands together, get artist bands. Audition, got one tour that led to another tour. One of the auditions was for Gwen Stefani then, and just long story short, right before that, I auditioned for 9 Inch Nails, and it was just the best audition, of my life, because it was just a lot of great stories came out of it, but I was sick as a dog when I auditioned. I looked terrible, so they liked me at that time because I just, anyway, it came down to me and another guy, and they wanted either me more the player, the other guy more the programmer. They went with the other guy, which was the right choice. Ultimately, I was bummed, but then I got a call for the Gwen thing right after that, so I went in a little bit like, okay, all right, audition for this thing. Anyway, got the Gwen Stefani gig and was getting prepped for rehearsals, and the creative director called me. I think this was not too long before rehearsal started, maybe a week or two, and said, hey, the playback guy just quit. Can you also run playback? And they were in Digital Performer. So I was like, all right, I guess I can run playback. Turns out run playback turned into, can you make segues? Can you make the show opening? Can you, it was kind of like, hey, so I already had the skill set for that I developed working for my parents' band. And then I also had the arranging chops already from studying arranging and then writing for high school bands, percussion ensembles and stuff. So there were a lot of pieces that fell in line for me pretty easily. And then the first day of rehearsal, we get to rehearsal, and everyone in the band, some of my favorite musicians, I was a big fan of, a lot of ex-David Bowie band members. I was definitely the little guy, the new kid. And to start rehearsals, they just kind of, looked at me and they're like, well, what do we do? I'm like, oh, all right, I guess I'll press space bar and then I'll tell you I'll solo up your parts. And that was kind of like the first, like figuring out like, okay, so this is the bass part of the record. So you should play it like that. And the drums are this, and let's cut these drum samples so you can play, So I was a little on the job there.
Well, we're working with some teachers, some educators, nonprofits around the country. And there's a lot of emphasis on workforce development, connection to careers, as I mentioned, entertainment and the arts. And the skill set, music tech is still kind of new, even though it's been around in the classroom. So if you were to talk in front of a group of students at a college with the professors there, what advice would you have? What message would you have in terms of the viability of, learning, having programs like music tech programs?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to know the 3 major DAWs. I mean, I think as an MD for sure, but you need to know Pro Tools, you need to know Ableton, you need to know Logic. You at least need to know the basics of it so you know what they're capable of, because all your work will be crossing these platforms between the producer sessions, other previous MD sessions, So, that part, even if you're concert violinist, I mean, I run into that all the time. I just had one today where I had to send a session to a string player, and I need them to record in Pro Tools. So, they need to know how that works. Mm-hmm. So, I think on the tech side, you have to know those 3, at least the basics of them. And then Digital Performer doesn't hurt either as the 4th one, because that's still used quite a bit, especially in Europe. And like I just, when I music directed Pink's tour last summer, she's still in Digital Performer. So I had to know, I mean, you have to know how chunks load, what's capable, what the capabilities are with MIDI and audio and tempo mapping and all that stuff. So it's,
Chris, I was intrigued on the heels of Ken's question, and then we want to go to our colleague Stefan, but you had related in our pre-shows, we were just getting together. I'll leave the name of the institution out, but you had shared, if I heard correctly, that you and your wife addressed a bunch of music majors at one of the major Southern Cal institutions. It kind of aligns with, I think, Ken's question about what do you need to know to get out in the business. Would you mind just sharing a little bit further on what that experience was and what your takeaway was on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of takeaways from, I mean, young people, when you're entering college, there's a lot of, I don't want to say challenges, but I think there's a lot of talent when you go into certain music schools, and there are a lot of blind spots. There are a lot of blind spots on the tech side. Like when I said you need to know the DAWs, I think a lot of kids didn't know what I meant when I said DAW, digital audio workstation. Mm-hmm. So just the basics of knowing what the landscape of all the different components of music is important. Yeah, I think college is a lot of learning what you're not good at and realizing what you don't know. There's a thing, I don't know if you're familiar with the thing called the Dunning-Kruger effect, where it's the idea that the less you know about something, the more you think you know. And then as you get older and you learn more and more about it, you realize, oh, it's more complicated, it's more nuanced. That's kind of the look up Dunning-Kruger effect. It's fascinating because I run into it quite a bit, and it's some people call it the height of Mount Stupid, where it's like you think you only know a little bit about it, but you think that because you know anything about it, you think you know everything about it. So I think college is a challenge that way, and to come to a place where you see the broader music landscape and all the genres as having a place for you, or something for you to learn from.
Gotcha. Very cool. Yeah. All right. Let's bring in Ken. Let's bring in our colleague, Stefan Zastavos. Stefan works with schools throughout, we'll call it the upper half of the country. He's a multi-instrumentalist in his own and has been part of the SoundTree family for a long time. Steph, thanks for joining us. Anything you want to run by Chris real quick?
Sure, absolutely. Chris, thank you for coming on. You're around so much talent, and you've helped shape the sound of so many live performances. And I couldn't agree with you more about knowing DAWs and just staring back at that screen for weeks and years on end, and then finally something might click. But on the performance side, you have these young cats that are, maybe they're great on the tech side, but they might not be so comfortable when it comes to live performance. And someone such as yourself, you've helped shape, so many live performances. And in your own words, what do you think some of these performers should focus on in terms of putting on a show that's truly unforgettable?
I think I have two things. I have one that's a major bone to pick with everybody that plays music, which is, and this is something on American Idol we focus on a lot. Every genre has rules that make it what it is. And there's times to violate those rules a little bit, to mess with genre blurring if you want, but you have to at least know what the rules of genres are. So as far as like things to learn as a player, like for instance, if you're a drummer, know what's an appropriate fill in country versus R&B versus metal versus yacht rock versus Motown. They all have very specific things that make it those genres, those things. So I think sometimes as musicians, as players, especially younger players, you're shooting for a particular skill set, and thankfully there's so much online now and so many incredible players and, facility and knowledge, but to know what's appropriate within the genres takes some wisdom and some learning and some getting yelled at, to be honest, by a music director or someone saying, what are you doing? And this is something I run into working with musicians, and all us MDs do constantly. When you hear a keyboard player's voicings, you're like, you'd never put the upper extension on that chord voicing. It doesn't, there's a Motown sound. Why are you playing the minor 2? It's always the 4, like it's, so there are things like that. That's just to learn. As far as unforgettable experiences, that could be a number of things. It depends on the format of it. It could be straight up how incredible of a player you are with chops. I think of like the great work that those guys are doing at Jam Card and the Jam Jams and stuff. And that's just all impressive facility. It's all like, that's really fun to watch. Most of that does not apply to actually making money, but it's really fun to see the possibility of a player. And then other shows like Idol, like what we do, we're really focused on supporting an artist and us playing by the rules that help that artist succeed. So that's really it.
Sure. No, I appreciate that, because sometimes people like to think they could bottle this sort of, thing up and release it at will, and then sometimes that magic kind of just comes, I guess maybe when the stars align and just things are just happening, and but you've done a fantastic job at kind of coordinating that and making those performances as best as they can, and you've definitely done a great job.
Thank you.
Chris, you said an interesting thing before we jump to our Chris Sanders, but you said something about the rules of how to help an artist succeed. You just referenced there. Can you take us inside that a little bit? Yeah,
I mean, like, say, well, a couple examples. Like, take the final 3 we had on American Idol last year. Like Jamal, R&B artist, and we, as a band, we have to be able to rip with Jamal. So we have to be able to go there on a arrangement side, musicality. We have to be, it's a lot of notes, a lot of reharms, a lot of playing, a lot of looseness in all those arrangements to get us to support him as an artist. That's what he wants. That's where he's going. And then John Foster, who was another one of the top 3 country artists. And so we're going to play John's music very differently. And out of respect for the songs he's picking, the artist that he wants to be, we're not going to run over him with a particular style of playing, because we want to support him as an artist, and it's not our job to sort of like poke our heads out and like, here's my lick, I'm going to play over your song, unless it supports what he's trying to do. That's really it. Just supporting them on the music side.
Boy, there's some stuff I think I'm going to come back to if time allows. But anyhow, Ken, let's bring in Chris Sanders. Chris is our resident live audio expert, brilliant studio guy and live sound guy, and just generally a good guy. Chris, thanks for joining us tonight from Fort Wayne, Indiana. And what do you got for our friend Mr. Pooley here? Unmute yourself.
Did you guys mute me? You guys muted me? Oh man, you guys made the audio guy look silly.
Gotcha.
I love it. You guys can hear me okay now? Am I coming through all right?
Yep.
Yes. Awesome. Chris, man, it's good to be with you. You said something earlier about how you met with those students, and it was kind of shocking, some of the things that they weren't aware of, and the technologies and etiquettes that exist out there in part of what it takes to be a musician and perform at the level, so at your level as the music director and everything there, what are the top 3 ways that technology makes you the most effective in your role, and which specific tools or platforms are most essential to how you work?
Yeah, I'm not sure I've thought of it as a top 3, but I can give you some. I think we already talked about knowing DAWs. I primarily work in Pro Tools.
Same.
And knowing the basics of recording, knowing signal path, even if you got to get an audio interface, you got to have a laptop. A lot of kids, I'm surprised too, they do music and they only work off their phones. Mm-hmm. And it's possible to work off your phone. I worked with some artists before that only make music on their phones. Like Lil Nas X was that way. He made everything on his phone. I think as an MD or a musician, just on the basic side, you need to get a laptop, you need to get an interface, and you get a mic. You got to at least know, even if it's not fancy, figure out how that works, because it's always going to be something like, like I have this mic right here all the time, because I'm always having to, like, I think I could talk about it. I just did a commercial thing. I can't talk about it. Last night, for a social media person. Anyway, it'll but I had to demo all the vocals just real quick because I just need them. So you just, in order to work, make money, you got to know signal flow. You need to know a DAW. And then far as being a music director, I mean, this isn't my quote, but the idea you're 3 parts equally: musician, technician, politician.
Yeah.
So you need to be all 3.
That's brilliant.
If you miss one of them, it's tough. It's tough to work that way. If you obviously great at music, great at tech, but you just can't deal with people in a appropriate, kind, empathetic way, that's tough. Or if you're just great at people, you're great at music, but you can't get it together technically, you can't program your gear, you can't, you're
unreliable.
That's
then
no way to make money, and you can't, you can't.
No, 100%. That definitely makes sense. It definitely makes sense. So in the same vein of technology, I know you've got like a story ready to go about sometime that technology solved a challenge for you or enabled you to do something musically that you would not have been possible otherwise.
Well, I mean, just the straight up nuts and bolts of it for me, technology. I mean, I can't, like, I do, I demo everything. So when I'm music directing, the idea is you make the arrangements. If I had to have someone else running the studio and recording and doing all that, I couldn't make a living. I could kind of, but if you have to pay everyone else to do everything, that becomes tricky. So, I've had a couple things technically. I mean, there's all sorts of stories about things going wrong and having to figure it out on the fly. And like with Gwen Stefani, I used to run playback from stage while playing.
Oh.
And it was the days before you could sync a rig to a redundant rig together.
Yeah.
So we built we had both like keyboards on stage, computer keyboards, and built like a piece of wood that had 2 like dowels, and I would hit the middle of the piece of wood and it would hit the space bar. It's like so. And then accidentally one time it was right next to me and I was playing and my elbow hit it and I stopped the playback rig.
Ooh.
It was the old days of the Hippo, I think, playback system. So video locked up too. So everything went silent and the video froze. I was like, oh boy. Yeah. That system was an imperfect system, and now it's thankfully much better, and you usually have a dedicated playback person.
But you walked so we could run, man. Now we've got full automatic, redundant rigs now. Things are a lot more reliable. Panic attacks are a lot less few now. So
yeah. I think in 2 years that was the only time I had a tech mishap on that.
That's fair.
That's pretty good record. Yeah.
I got one.
Thanks for trying to make me feel better about that. Yeah.
I got one more if you guys got time. I mean, are there any emerging technologies that you are excited about that are popping up in the music directing or technology world?
Emerging technology. I'm always on top of plugins and gear. Some of that stuff, the stuff that I like the most is the stuff that's kind of like hands-on that I can make noise with.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of KORG products close by.
Nice.
That I do that with. And then my buddy Aaron just released this walrus effect pedal that that just showed up. So I'm gonna start messing with that. So some of the automation stuff for printing stems, like Bounce Butler, I love. Some of that stuff I try to be real careful about the use because that's technically AI because it takes over your system and prints stems. So I think there's a way to do it where it's still musical and using new technologies. But for me, it always just comes down to arranging with the keyboard. I mean, my setup is right here. You can see the keyboard here. It's in the desk, and this is where I just sit and work.
That's fair. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Exactly. Well, I love it, man. I appreciate you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Kris, you mentioned AI. What are you seeing on the horizon, and how is it starting to, for lack of a better phrase, infiltrate your daily work?
It hasn't. It hasn't. What I do is still fairly cavemanish in that it's someone sends me a song and they need me to arrange it in a particular way. And I do that at a keyboard. Like I said, I use Bounce Butler for printing stems and automation. That's about it for me. I see a lot of it on the horizon with I don't deal in songwriting. But other than that, I've steered clear of it so far. I don't use voice. Oh, I did do one thing for Sabrina Carpenter's MTV VMA opening. There were these voiceovers we needed to add. And so I said everything, and then I used like a formant shaper on my voice to give me like a New York accent. And like, so that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
So, but I said it with a New York accent, and then it just kind of made it a little bit more legitimate. But that's about as far as I've gone, and it was still my voice. So.
Can you recreate that voice?
I'm not going to recreate that. No.
Just thought I'd ask.
It's on YouTube, I think.
Okay.
Sabrina's MTV VMAs.
Okay.
All right, Kris. It's the last week of Idol. They're cutting it down. It's day to day today. We're very loyal watchers here in the Straighten household. What's that like for you? What do those days look like?
Well, the days are long. It's a lot of music, but I don't know. That show is so fun. And that's not just me being a politician. That it really is. It's making live music with your best friends, and it's like the live TV aspect of it is so fun because you can't afford to mess around with it. The hours get long, but what we do in music was more blue collar than probably most people like to admit. You just stay up late, make the arrangements, try to have fun with it. It moves so fast. There's not much time to think about it. But the finale isn't too bad. It's usually 3 hours. It's like, 35 songs, 40 songs, something like that, which isn't too bad. I can't give the exact numbers away because it hasn't aired yet, but we just filmed Hollywood Week, and it was more than 120 songs in 2 days. It was like a blinding amount of songs, but fun. Anything with music, especially live TV, is stressful. So managing stress is usually the thing that is the biggest thing. We try to make sure, you get sleep. It's the basics. Make sure you get sleep, drink a lot of water. And then once the finale is done, it's done. It's over.
How much of a sense of cramming do you feel, if any, especially when you get towards the end, as people are eliminated? Are you learning things on the spot or in a very short?
Yeah, we're turning around really, really quick. There's a lot of, you learn how to work in short-term memory, and what is helpful for you. Like we have everything on iPads, all our sheet music. We have charts for everything. And so how to notate it in a way where you can read it fast and remember what that means. And yeah, it's a lot of short-term memory, and you'd be amazed at how you don't remember. As soon as it's over, it's just like your brain drags it to the trash so fast because you're loading it with new stuff. So there is no, I'm the kind of person where, ask me what song we played and what season. I definitely could not tell you any of that, except for a couple. I've got maybe like 5. I remember that baked into my long-term memory.
For good reasons, or
good reasons. I don't think we've had any, knock on wood, we haven't had any real disasters on the show. Just a couple small disasters that no one would notice.
Yeah, Kris, sometimes I'll watch some of the highlight reels. I don't know what it is. Sometimes some of these young musicians, the young guys that could just bell out a tune, like of which you would probably hear your parents play, and they would just kill it, and they would just nail it. And I don't know what it is. I feel like it's always more impactful in my eyes. But for those musicians out there, especially the younger ones that didn't grow up maybe with parents who had any musical bone in their body, is there something that you see on the show from some of these musicians, young or old at this point, but the ones who didn't come from any sort of musical background that do just have that raw talent? Is there something maybe in common that you kind of see all those guys have, or guys and gals? Yeah, what would you?
That's a good question. Yeah, because talent is talent,
Sure.
and some people just what from the very first note, we'll know it the first time we hear them. We're like, oh yes, and it's usually vocal pocket. It's not usually pitch. It's that they can deliver the lyric in the pocket, and it's like, oh,
Right.
because you're playing with them, so it feels right.
Mm-hmm.
There's that, but I think, and I actually was thinking about this the other day. The thing I've seen in common, especially for the hopefuls on the show that do well, they all have the ability to roll with it. They have something about their personality, because it's fast paced. It's not a lot of sleep. It's a lot of new people. They're homesick. They've got stuff going on in their personal life. They've got people on the show they have to deal with. They're in hair and makeup and wardrobe and interviews. They have the ability to zoom out, see it for what it is for that moment of time, and just roll with it. And I think that speaks to the tension you keep in your body, because they just stay loose. And they're able to sing loose, and they're able to joke around things that maybe aren't their preference, but then the people I see get real tight and have a hard time rolling with it. They start losing their voice, and I can't hear. And we see that every year. I'm like, and I can usually spot it in the first time with them, like that person's going to have a problem. They're just uptight, so they're going to have a problem, and that person, they may not be the best singer, but I think they're going to go far because they're just kind of enjoying themselves.
Sure. No, that makes sense. No, I appreciate that. And staying loose, making sure things aren't tightening. I mean, that's, it's so you can have that loose pocket, but also be right in that spot where you need to be.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, so I've been loving this conversation so far. This is so cool that like you work at the highest level with like the highest level musicians and the highest tech and everything. Like it's amazing. I want to just talk about like balancing like vision and reality. Me and my wife, we watch the show, and one of the things I'm always like impressed with is how you guys can take the contestants like personality and like kind of make it into the arrangement, but also kind of make it hit at a global level. Like, can you talk about some of the like kind of practical restraints that go into like arranging for that niche kind of application there?
yeah, that's a good question. I mean, there's a whole there are coaching teams on the show, so throughout the season our hopefuls are with a vocal coach and an associate music director who's a piano player. And they're in small rooms working together for long hours on a lot of songs. And so there's a lot of life that gets exposed in those rooms. And if someone's going to break down or have a hard time or be super pumped, and like it happens usually in that environment. It's a very organic process. It's a human experience. It's on TV, it can, it's presented as a slick TV show, but it's just people figuring it out. So there's a lot of information in there, and then we try to help them with their song choices. It's their choice ultimately what song they sing, that it reflects where they're at, so that's important, the story of the song. And I think it honestly comes down to like on the show, and thankfully I've been able to fill out the whole music team with people that are just good people, and they care, and they're also very good at music, but we never put the music in front of the person. And so we try to let their story and what they're going through lead with all that. And then there's obviously a technical side. We have to hurry up. We can't just wait for things. We have to like get songs done. What's your But that's what we hope on the show. I mean, it's kind of hokey to say, but we hope that it's a really good music experience for them, and that when they look back on it, that it was something that they were supported in wherever they were at that stage. And that's usually kind of stage one for a lot of these artists. So we understand they will evolve beyond the show. We hope they do.
Yeah.
And then if someone wants to rip it, then we fully back them on that too.
Just like, hey, I'll give you some advice. It's up to you if you want to take it or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
that's fair. Yeah. So I guess the only other thing
Chris,
I want to
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Chris Sanders,
go
keep going. I'm just going to say, Kris Pooley, do you do all the right? You mentioned all the arrangements. So two questions come to mind. Number one, do you do all the writing as things formulate with the associate MDs? Number one, and then number two, or follow what's the criteria that I think I know the answer, but I'd love for you to articulate it. That for the guys that you hire in the band, obviously versatility is key. They've got to cover, as I loved your reference to. There's an R&B fill, there's a metal fill, there's a funk fill. As far as drummers are concerned, can you just talk about the writing aspect, and then also who do you hire, and what are you looking for in that regard?
Yeah, I mean the bulk of the initial arranging the associate music directors do. So they're in the room with the hopefuls. They come up with an arrangement, and a lot of times the artist themselves will bring in an idea. I like it like this, and they shape it, and then because of how our workflow goes, then it comes to me. I get a recording of that. I'll go through. Some will be just like, that's perfect. That's great. Let's roll with that. Then they'll make a chart, and then I will adjust things once it gets to band rehearsal. Sometimes it'll come to me and it'll be like, let's maybe, I don't know about this or that, or what about this idea? And so I'll pitch them back something, because it really needs to come from the kid who's singing it. It has to, they have to own it. So it all starts with in those rooms with the associate music director and the vocal coach, and then ultimately it's my neck on how it translates to TV, and if it I'll usually change enough of it to make it what it needs to be for TV. So, and then player wise, versatility. I mean, sound wise, we've grown together as a band. I think if you were to watch season 1 or season 2, there's a couple things you'd be like, oh, okay, tone or something like that. But we've all grown together, and then also the ability for everyone to take a note, because we move fast, and although we're friends, there's a lot of times all the niceties are kind of out the window when we're working that fast. There's a lot of like, don't play that, or lay out here, or a lot of shit. There's a lot of nonverbal communication with us. Someone will go for something, and I'll be like, yes, like that, or no, or so the ability to take that from me, mostly. I mean, I think our shorthand's gotten such where everyone knows, like, this is what's appropriate, this is not what's appropriate. But the humility to not go for maybe the thing that's in their head if I'm going like that from the other side of the stage.
The universal signal for that's a terrible idea.
Yeah, and I mean, thankfully there's not a lot of that. And everyone that's in the band, I love their playing so much, and we've all realized there's things that we do really well and little blind spots we have, and so we've all worked on those tiny little blind spots, over the last 9 years.
Nice.
Very cool. From beginning to end, Idol, when they do the prelims and the regionals and all that kind of stuff, what's the time frame from beginning to end?
It's different every year, because like this year, it depends on when our premiere is. So this year it's in January. It's up about a month earlier than it normally is. So we shot 2 weeks ago, and it wraps mid-May. So, but we're not on the whole time. I think the whole thing is really only about 14 weeks for me, for the band side.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, Kris, the only thing I would say is, while we still have you here, is I guess at what point, as long as you've been doing this, and you've been behind so many massive productions, is there a distinct memory that you think of maybe early on in your career, or maybe even it could be last week, where things just clicked and you realized this is where I'm supposed to be. I can do this. And, what do you think that would be?
Well, yeah, I mean, the funny thing about what we all do is that everything feels like everything. Everything feels like now. Sure. And when sometimes massive things are happening, you can sometimes zoom out and see them as big moments, but usually it just feels like whatever's happening in the room. And I've had moments where I've caught myself not understanding what's happening, but then seeing what's happening and being like, oh, this is pretty cool. My first meeting for Idol, when they didn't tell me they were bringing me in for a meeting to see if I wanted to be music director. About midway through the meeting, I realized they're asking me to be the music director for American Idol. So there's like kind of little formative moments like that. When I did the Super Bowl with Katy Perry, while that was happening, felt like I can't believe this is happening, because it's live TV and it's very scary. And I was very proud of that show and the arrangements and, worked very hard on that. So those are certain things that feel like they bake into your DNA and they're like, I will always remember this. And I've had a lot of very transcendent moments, even on American Idol, while we're playing music and there's something about the person's story I can remember, and I know we'll be doing a song sometimes. I'm like, if I look at anyone in this band, I'm going to lose it because I know the singers behind me are crying. I'm definitely not going to look that way. And if I look across over at Greg or Joe and they're emotional, there's really special emotional moments on that show.
Awesome.
That will catch you by surprise because you're at work, and you're on TV and you're like, oh boy, I'm going to lose it here if I look at anyone. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Other than that, everything you can look back on your career and go, wow, that's pretty cool how that relationship turned into that thing. And because this is all relationship business, I've only ever gotten work by someone recommending me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
No, it's good to hear. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ken or Chris, any other final questions, thoughts for Chris before we let him go here shortly?
Man, so many questions, but I know we don't have the time. But yeah, it's just got to be so satisfying. There's the Idol experience alone is there's so much involved. And I referenced that video earlier that I watched with you and the other musical directors. It's so many skills, so many things you have to be good at, and be able to move between those different, skills at any moment. Yeah. It's really impressive.
And I think the only thing that gives me pause, that's sad about it, is that I think that format is a tough one to continue for a long period of time. I hope Idol goes forever. I hope shows like Idol go forever.
Mm-hmm.
Live TV, live musicians. We've seen in our lifetime, and we hear all the way back to the big band days of live music, it's all kind of funneling down a little bit where there's fewer and fewer live bands on live TV.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope there's some pivot in a way for artists to express themselves in that way. And it's not all just, streams.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hopeful that there will be, and I'm hopeful even if it does, at some point it goes away, I think it would come back. But it really is a special experience to be able to play live music. It's nice when it's also, your job too.
Yeah. Do you dedicate that time in between when you're not with Idol for your other projects?
Yeah. I mean, Idol really is about a quarter of the year for me. And then the rest of the time I'm music directing pop tours, and arranging. It's mostly here, me arranging for artists, and then I travel with them. Like Sabrina Carpenter has had a lot of stuff recently, and all her stuff has been really fun, and get to pop over and do Saturday Night Live.
Saw that.
And then play at the Grand Ole Opry, and then, it's just fun stuff. And then I try to take time off. That's a priority for me.
That was my next question. You take vacations, or you?
I try. Yeah, I think everyone, even if you're on the grind, like, I think you've got to put that grind down every now and then. You've got to figure out a way to get away from music. I'm a firm believer in getting out in nature. I'm a fly fisherman. That's my thing.
Oh, wow.
So I think that's just as important as chopping, getting away from music, coming back to it, getting away from it, coming back to it. But yeah, I'm thankful. This has been a really fun year. The Lady Gaga stuff was really fun to write with her and put that tour together. And so I'm really thankful for it all.
Terrific. Yeah,
that is.
Thanks.
Sure. Chris Sanders, anything else for Chris?
I'm just grateful to be here. Yeah, it's been an awesome opportunity, man. To hear just what I thought was happening on the background is actually happening, and the heart the music is there. Like it's just super impressive, man. That like you're doing it, and you're so modest about it, man. You're just like I do this, and this is my job, and ask me any questions. It's beautiful. So
that's nice of you to say. We hope that comes across on the show. I mean, it can be so slick. It can feel so slick in between you going to commercial and you're coming out of, and all the lights, and Ryan's really good. It's like it can feel very like, I don't want to say inorganic, but we really hope that it comes across once we start music that we're all in it.
Yeah.
And that's what I say to all the kids on the show. It's like, once that starts, it's all of us in it together.
Exactly.
And if they go a direction, we're going to go with them. And it's things happen on live TV that had not happened previously at all in rehearsals.
Wow.
That's the nature of it. And it's fun. But we really do hope that comes across.
Yeah.
Mostly.
No,
it does.
You guys, it really is the glue, that kind of holds it together. And I think I can speak for all of us. I mean, we discussed this prior to us having a chance to meet you, but that there is just a very natural fit. I think that's part of the unique DNA of the show.
Yeah,
that really does come across. All right, guys. Chris, we are so grateful that you gave us some time tonight. We will be spreading this out in the community. I hope that you'll consider. We'd love to bring you back another day and just
I'd love to
catch up on just what you got going on. But your perspective, I think, is so valuable for all of us, and we're just grateful.
No, thanks for saying that.
Yeah, man, we'll be putting this out. So, on behalf of all of KORG in general and the SoundTree group, and we again extend our thanks to Tom Cusimano. We just want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. If you didn't have a chance to see us live, again, go to soundtree.com and thank you, Ken, for pulling up the graphic. And if anybody has any needs or anything like that, please feel free to reach out to us. But again, Kris Pooley, we're just so honored that you were with us.
Oh, and thank you.
Wish you all the best and get back to Montana and chase those bears around. Okay.
I will. I'll be chased by them. Yes.
All righty. All right. Everyone be safe. By the way,
right at the end.
It will be dark next week because Thanksgiving. So it's here at SoundTree TV.
I'm gonna guess that you just said goodbye. you were doing your Max Headroom thing again, right there. It was sorry. Sorry.
You gotta love technology. Wish everybody happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you for watching SoundTree TV.